Hello, my name is Gabby and welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, then welcome to my channel, and in today's video I am going to be talking about some of the books that I want to read this summer. There are a couple of things that I look for in a summer read. These aren't necessarily things that have to go together, but they're just more of an explanation for why some of the books that are on this TBR are on this TBR today. And also just an explanation of how my brain has been working recently. The first thing is romance, because I love a good quality summer romance. The second is like cute contemporary stuff. The third is water. And then just like overall atmosphere. And then finally, it's just like me trusting my basic instincts. And those will include random books that are just calling out to me right now, and because of that, they feel correct. So with that, we are just going to go in alphabetical order here, and let's go ahead and get started. So the content warnings for the books that I talk about today will be linked down in the description below. The first book on this TBR is All the Stars and Teeth by Adalyn Grace. This follows our main character who has spent her entire life training to be the Master of Souls, and doing so means that she will secure her place as heir to the throne. However, when her demonstration does not go as she planned, she is forced to flee with a mysterious pirate after she makes a deal with him. But sailing ends up holding more dangers than she originally anticipated, and she has to face these things or else she will lose the crown forever. So this book is on this TBR because I saw the words pirate and sailing, and I also believe there are mermaids in here. And I don't know about you, but that definitely sounds like a lot of water. Otherwise, I am so excited to explore this world because it sounds like it has a lot of really interesting and cool fantasy stuff. I'm also just like a little bit obsessed with the cover and just like all of the blue. I did take a quick glance at the reviews for this one, and they did make me a little bit nervous, especially since I saw some ones that were like negative towards probably the thing that I am looking forward to most, which is the world building. But I do want to go ahead and give it a try anyway, and we'll see how it goes. So next up is A Song of Wraiths and Ruin by Roseanne A. Brown. This is a fantasy inspired by West African folklore, and it follows a princess and a refugee who have this growing attraction towards one another, despite being on the course to kill one another. So I talked about this book very recently in the mid-year book freakout tag for that book that I need to read before the end of the year prompt. And this book was basically the beginning of me slowly but surely throwing together a summer TBR. Like I said in that video, I very much gravitate towards the romance in this book, and I am ready to let it do whatever it wants to my heart because it sounds like it could do bad and angsty things, and I want that. Other than the romance, it also sounds like this story incorporates a lot of things that I have loved in the past, and I'm really hoping that those things are no different in here, unless they are a good different, and in that case, I'm all here for that. And I just have been meaning to get into this series for a while now, and I do think that this summer could be the perfect time to do so. So next up is Dark Shores by Danielle L. Jensen. So this takes place in a world where the only group of people who have the knowledge needed to cross the endless sea are mandated to never sail and meet the West. However, when her closest friend is forced into an unwanted betrothal, our main character decides to break that mandate to help her friend escape. And then this also follows our other main character who is keeping a secret from the rest of the Legion who once conquered the entire East. However, when a senator from the Empire discovers the Dark Shores, our two main characters must form an unlikely alliance for the sake of all of their families. This book sounds like there is a lot going on, but in a good way, I hope. And once again, I am very interested in the world building and just exploring the world as a whole. It sounds like there is going to be like interesting politics in here, and also what are hopefully going to be dark and mysterious and treacherous waters. Because in fantasy settings, those are always the most fun. So there was a time in my life where I would do themes for my TBRs each month, and I had separated and planned my TBRs like months in advance. And while I was preparing for this video, I found a tiny slip of paper that had the theme that I was going to read this book for. And this tiny little piece of paper says thief because I was going to do a TBR for books with thieves in them at some point. I'm honestly not sure where I got that from for this book specifically, and it is entirely possible that something just got mixed up because it has been a while since I've enjoyed like the planning and structure that I used to have with my TBRs. So if it is in there, then that should be fun, but if it's not in there, then this book still sounds fun anyway. So next up is Hunted by the Sky by Tanaz Bhathena. This book is set in medieval India, and it follows our main character who has a star-shaped birthmark on her arm that led to her parents' murder at the hands of the king's soldiers. She is taken in by a group of rebel women where she begins training in warrior magic to get revenge. And then this also follows her other main character who is about to sign his life away to the army until he becomes entangled in our main character's mission for revenge and discovers a magic that he never expected. I feel like we have a lot of unlikely alliances and revenge stories in this TBR, which could not be a great thing, so I'll probably have to remember that later on, and just like try to keep them far enough away from each other to where it doesn't feel more repetitive than it already kind of feels. For this book in particular, I am very interested in that rebel group of women because that sounds fun. And I know I just said that it felt a little bit repetitive, but I do like a good revenge plot. I also do feel like the setting itself holds a lot of potential and promise, and once again, I am very interested in whatever secrets get uncovered in that setting. And the synopsis does say that this book has a high-stakes romance, which also hopefully sounds like a good time. And I do love the cover, so that is also definitely a thing. So the next book in this TBR is Instructions for Dancing by Nicola Yoon. This follows our main character who receives visions of how romances begin and also how they end. As she tries to figure out the reason why these visions exist, she finds herself at a dance studio learning from a boy who is everything that she is not. However, as they begin to dance around and also towards each other, our main character begins to question everything that her visions taught her about love and heartbreak. Okay, so this is our first but definitely not our last contemporary romance on this list. It just sounds so amazing, and I've heard amazing things about it, which just makes it sound more amazing than it already does. I haven't read anything by this author since I read Everything back when I was like 16 or 17, and I don't remember much about that experience, honestly. But I've since hauled The Sun Is Also a Star, which is like an honorable mention to this list. Because although I am looking forward to reading The Sun Is Also a Star, I do think the plot in this one just does appeal to me more, and I am just really excited for it. So next up is Let's Talk About Love by Kann. This takes place in the summer and follows our main character who has the perfect plan for how she wants to spend said summer. However, the only thing missing from her plans is her now ex-girlfriend who broke up with her after our main character came out to her as asexual, which is an outcome that has since turned our main character away from the dating scene. That is until one day she meets a guy who she is starting to have feelings for, but she is not sure that she wants to risk their friendship for a love that may not be reciprocated or understood. So this is one of the few books on this list, and by that I mean the only book on this list that I know for sure actually takes place in the summer. And the happiness radiating from the cover is also really resonating with me, and it feels like something that I want and need this summer. So hopefully the story ends up reflecting that at some point. The little blurb on the front says Alice is about to ace this whole dating thing, which is a pun that makes me both cringe and smile at the same time in a way that puns often do to me. And this just feels like a good quality summer contemporary, and I am just really looking forward to it. So next is One Last Stop by McQuiston. So this follows our main character who is moving to New York City. She believes her subway commute will be boring, however that all changes when she sees this girl on the train who saves her day when she needed it the most. Our main character's new crush becomes the best part of her day, but that all changes when she realizes that this girl has actually been displaced by time, and she is going to have to use everything that she once left in her past in order to help her. So Red, White, and Royal Blue is a book that will forever remind me of summer because I read it a couple of years ago during the summer, and I am hoping to have that same association with this book here. I am so excited for the romance, and I am so ready to experience the love and the hype that I've been hearing about this book since it came out. This book has a blurb that says, "Sometimes love stops you in your tracks," which again, with the pun. I do think I prefer the pun on Let's Talk About Love a little bit more, but I did still get a small smile when I first saw it. And I just feel like this is a romance that can play with my heart in all of the ways that I want this summer, and I just cannot wait. So next up, I have Skyward by Sanderson. So Skyward takes place on a planet where the remnants of the human race are trapped and are being constantly attacked by alien starfighters. Our main character longs to be a pilot, and she discovers that that may actually be possible when she finds the wreckage of an old ship. This is one of those books that is just kind of calling out to me right now. Maybe it's because I haven't read a sci-fi in a while, which I'm also not entirely sure is a correct statement, but it feels like it is one, so I'm gonna go with it. But what I do know for sure is that I have not read a Brandon Sanderson book in a while, and this feels like a good series to jump back into that with. I've heard really good things about this, as per usual when it comes to Brandon Sanderson books, so that was not a surprise. But the story sounds really cool. I feel like it has a lot of stuff that I don't read too much of, but also I probably should. Because I am especially interested in the aliens in here, and then also just like the pilot stuff and space. I'm assuming there's space because of the cover, it looks like there's space. And overall, I am very curious to see what this book holds. So next up is So This Is Ever After by F.T. Lukens. This follows our main character after he completes his prophecy of saving the kingdom from its evil ruler, and him and his companions now have no idea what to do with themselves. His best friend convinces him to take the throne until the heir can take his place until she dies and he ends up being stuck there. He now needs to find a spouse before his 18th birthday or he will fade away into nothing. Okay, so last summer I read and also loved In Deeper Waters by this author, so this book is on my TBR fully by association. Despite having its darker and angstier moments, In Deeper Waters definitely felt wholesome and cute and fun, and I want more of all of that in here. This story also sounds like it is going to really resonate with me. Like I said, it sounds really fun, and I'm also really excited for the romance as well, and the cover is actually amazing. And all of it just sounds amazing. I actually do think that there is a chance that I may like this more than In Deeper Waters, which is saying a lot because I love that book. But also it's not a competition, so it does not matter. All that matters is that I am really looking forward to this. So next up is Spin to Dawn by Elizabeth Lim. This follows our main character who dresses as a boy and travels to the Summer Palace to achieve her dream of becoming a tailor to the Emperor at the risk of being discovered. However, when she gets there, she realizes that she and 11 other tailors must compete in a series of challenges in order to prove their artistry and skills. So I hauled this book after I absolutely fell in love with Six Crimson Cranes by this author a couple of months ago. The sequel to Six Crimson Cranes is actually coming out this summer, so that is also an honorable mention to this TBR. But this is the book that is here in my hands right now, and it is a book that I know I will be reading soon. I actually remember when this book came out, I was hesitant about it because I wasn't that interested in the synopsis. But after reading Six Crimson Cranes and reading like the beautiful sewing and tailoring scenes in there, I knew that I was initially wrong and that I needed to read this because I am actually very interested in the synopsis. I feel like beautiful is a good word to describe what I kept thinking while reading Six Crimson Cranes, and I am just craving more of that feeling and that thought and whatever else Elizabeth Lim writes, because I just feel like I desperately need these stories in my life. So next is These Violent Delights by Chloe Gong. This is a Romeo and Juliet retelling that is set in 1920s Shanghai. There are rival gangs and a monster. Our main character has to team up with her first love and first betrayal, and they have to set aside their guns and grudges in order to stop all of the mayhem. So the synopsis says that this book is good for fans of The Last Magician and Descendant of the Crane. I'm probably more of a fan of The Last Magician since that was a 5-star for me, and Descendant of the Crane was like a 3 to a 3.5, but I still do like both of those books. And I'm hoping to like this one as well. Or love. Let's go with love. This is another book that I've just heard really amazing things about, and I just know that I'm going to be reading it sooner rather than later, so I went ahead and threw it in this TBR. This is one of those books that I don't know what else to say because everything that I want to say is just some other form of it sounds so good. Because everything about this does sound so good, and it sounds like everything that should really end up working for me. And I also do typically really enjoy retellings because I love seeing what the authors just like come up with and do with them, and this one is no exception to that. So next is Tokyo Ever After by Emiko Jean. This follows our main character who is an ordinary Japanese-American girl who discovers that her father is actually the Crown Prince of Japan. So she travels there to meet him for the first time and gets swept into life as a princess. Our main character soon finds herself caught in between two worlds and she has to try to navigate that. So with this one, I'm intrigued and excited by the whole thing, and nothing really stands out more than the other. That being said, there does sound like there is going to be a nice bodyguard and princess romance in here, and that is something that I typically like. The author blurb on the front of this also refers to this story as a modern fairy tale, and I love that. And I just feel like this book has a lot to offer, and I'm really looking forward to it. And the final book on this TBR is Wicked Fox by Kat Cho. This follows our main character who is secretly a nine-tailed fox who has to devour the energy of men in order to survive. After feeding one night, she runs into a human boy who is being attacked by a goblin in the forest. In order to save him, she violates the rules of her survival and loses her fox speed in the process. These two end up developing a complex relationship with one another. However, when a generations-long feud reignites, our main character must choose between his life and her immortal one. So this book has probably been on my TBR for longer than any of the other books on this video. Maybe not Skyward, but my point is that it's been sitting around for a while now. For too long, and I want to change that. And because of the romance, I am going to put it on this TBR. It sounds complex and maybe even angsty, which is both good and terrible for my heart and emotions. And I am just really intrigued by the concept overall, and I just feel like it's finally time to go ahead and read this one because I have neglected it for far too long trying to find the correct season to read it in, because my mind can honestly justify this book for any season, but we're just gonna put it in this one and see what happens. Okay, so that is all of the books that I have for the summer TBR. Who knows what other books will show up along the way? But I do feel like this is a good group of books to begin choosing from. So with that, thank you all so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell, and answer the question that will be around here if you want to do that. And hopefully I will see you here next time. Bye.